I just finished a great book called Outlive.
Oh, you finished it?
Yes.
Good.
By Peter Attia.
Okay.
I think that's how you pronounce his last name. And again, don't freaking come for me because I'm not joining the cult of Peter. If you don't like him, fine. I thought the book was good. People are so tribal about this stuff, man. It's crazy. Have an open mind. A lot of the stuff in there I agree with. A lot of the stuff I didn't really agree with or it didn't really fit my lifestyle. Like he's got a huge section on mobility and stability. And that's great. But it's like doing stability training for me is like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
I just don't want to do it.
So tell the people the premise of the book.
Oh, yeah. So the premise of the book is basically how to set yourself up for a longer health span. Not a lifespan, not an amount of years, because what happens is we have people that live, I mean, you work with people that live up to 100.
The oldest person I've met is 107.
But would you say that that person is living a fulfilling life sitting in a rehab center?
Yes and no.
I mean, maybe.
They have a lot of family who come to visit them. They enjoy certain activities at the facility, but are they active in the community?
No.
No.
So let me ask you, if you were in that situation, do you think you would still be having a fulfilling life? Or would your lack of mobility cause you issues?
I think a lot of the things that I enjoy doing are quiet activities like...
But what about the cognitive patients that you deal with?
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. If I couldn't, have family come and visit me, if I couldn't read a book or enjoy listening to music or do crafts, that would really tank my quality of life.
Well, that's the thing. So his whole thing is like, how do we increase... Health span is defined as being able to do the activities that give your life meaning.
I don't need to be able to walk to have a fulfilling life. I could be in a wheelchair and have a fulfilling life.
See, I couldn't.
Yeah. And
that's
so
where you and I
quality of
differ.
life is different for everybody.
Right. Which is what he talks about. It's really, I would recommend that you go listen to this book or read it. I listened to it. But he talks about the centenarian decathlon, which is 100-year. They do this. 100-year-olds do a decathlon where they do a bunch of different activities. And it's about like in the Olympics, like they run 100-meter sprints. The record is like 34 seconds for a 107-year-old lady.
Do you want to know something really cute?
What?
I was looking at Instagram Reels yesterday, and I came across an account. I think it's called The Dancing Grandma or Granny or something like that. She's 100 years old, and she's a tap dancer. And she tap danced at her 100th birthday, and it's really cute.
I don't think that's cute. I think that's cool, though.
I think it's really great.
Yeah. But that's like... So he is a medical doctor, and he'll talk to his patients about what are the events in your centenarian decathlon? What are the things that are going to give you fulfillment if you get to 100, which is what he's trying to get people to, right? So you can do a whole inventory. We're getting off track. Basically, he was talking about diet. It's a really, really interesting chapter on nutrition because he lost a ton of weight doing keto. And for a really long time, he was an ardent proponent of the ketogenic diet. And he has since changed his mind. Nothing against keto. Don't come for me. But more so, opening yourself up to a lot of different opportunities for weight loss or weight gain or allowing yourself to become more metabolically healthy. So he touched on something that I kind of want to talk about a little bit, and that's the 3 overarching concepts of diet.
Okay.
So there's dietary restriction. This is a diet in which you remove a type of food or a group of foods.
Low carb,
keto,
low fat,
celiac, gluten-free, vegan.
The carnivore diet.
All of these. These are really big in the culture today. There's calorie restriction, which is very simple. Calories in, calories out.
Eat whatever you want, but it has to be
within your calorie counter. And then there's time restricted. Intermittent fasting or fasting for whatever reason. I think that all of these 3 have incredible power for the right individual. So I wanted to talk a little bit about each one where I see the pros and cons. And maybe if you hear something that you think this works for me, this doesn't work for me, then you can kind of point yourself in the right direction. Because the worst thing in the world is this constant diet cycle that I feel like we have. We're really good as a nation at losing weight. We're really bad at keeping that weight off.
Yeah.
Because usually we'll go fully extreme in the keto or 1,200 calories or fasting for 3 days and eating for 4, but that's not very sustainable for that person. So they lose the weight doing that, and then they go back to the normal way that they were eating.
Right.
Right. So I think, I don't want to be very biased with this, but I think the most effective one is calories in, calories out. And again, I'm going to have a little bias because that's what worked best for me. But I also have done intermittent fasting, and I have done Whole30, paleo. I've done all of these. And the one that helped me the most was calories in, calories out. That one I think is the most beneficial if you can deal with the lack of variety. Does that make sense?
I don't think you have to have a lack of variety, though. I mean, I've also done some calories in, calories out. And I still ate whatever I wanted.
I guess variety is the wrong word then. It's more so the rigidity of having to track everything.
Like the discipline of having to put it all in your tracker.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's not the lack of variety. It's the everything has to be tracked down to the micrometer, Yeah. And that for a lot of people that can push you into disordered eating.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I do think that if you can deal with that, that one's going to be the most effective because it's the most objective data. The dietary restriction, I think, is the easiest because you can just say, I don't eat that.
There are rules.
Exactly. It's like, I don't eat carbs. So then you can cut all that out. You don't have to think about it twice. You can say, give me the steak, wrap it in bacon, put some butter on it. That's it. Right?
Yeah.
And that works for you. That's the keto diet, right? Or the carnivore diet. I think that one runs you into a lot of micronutrition issues.
Yeah.
That would be the big drawback.
Yep.
So that one takes a little bit more foresight in terms of your supplementation. Like if you need to take vitamins and minerals, you have to really be careful with your blood work on a lot of those, carnivore and keto specifically. I'm not saying that they don't work. I can hear the comments right now. But I
you
am
want to make
saying,
sure that you're doing it in a way that's holistically healthy for your body.
Exactly. You have to go check out your blood work, all that stuff. And
or at least know that you probably should.
Yes.
If you don't want to go get your blood drawn,
you don't have
fine.
to. I'm not your dad. Right?
But you probably should.
And then time restricted, I think can be the most impactful in terms of like result outside of weight loss. Because there's been a bunch of different studies, and again, this is all really up in the air, but there's been a bunch of studies on autophagy, you know what that is, like cell death, and like how fasting helps us with that. There's been a lot of talk about fasting and cancer. There's been a lot of talk about because cancer grows off of glucose and so if we starve the cancer, would that work? There's a lot. I think we'll know a ton more in about 10 years because there's a lot of these studies out in the field right now. But I think that one, as well as being very easy because you have your restricted feeding window, that one may give you the most benefits outside of just a weight loss context. But the big problem with that one is that giving yourself a feeding window turns into a binging window. And so there are people that gain weight doing intermittent fasting because they'll eat, 4,000 calories.
By the time they can eat, they're so hungry that they just,
So with all of these in mind, you have to know thyself. That's the main thing. And a lot of times you come to this with experimentation. Like I said, I've done all of the diet styles. I've done them. I did 16-8. I did 24, intermittent fasting, keto, paleo, Whole30, calories in, calories out. Those are the 6 that I can remember. And the one that works is calories in, calories out because I am a very analytical person and I need that structure like we were talking about. And that structure does not tilt me to disorder. It tilts me to order. The restriction telling me what to do, then I was fighting against it.
Forget it.
And the time I was binging in my feeding windows.
You got so hungry that you just...
What do you think yours would be? If you ever wanted to make a metabolic change.
So there have been times when like I've tracked really more macronutrients more so than calories because I do have a pretty firm set point.
Yeah. Well, we try and get you to track protein now.
I don't
I know,
anymore. I used to, and I learned a lot from it.
Yeah.
So like I learned what sort of, foods were so many calories and eventually I didn't make a decision to like, okay, I'm done tracking now. But I just kind of phased out of it because I learned a lot and internalized a lot. And I think I've been able to pretty well carry that forward. Like I can still do my workouts effectively. I'm still putting on muscle, so I think that worked for me. I think I'm like you in that I like to be learning about things. I like data. I like a good Excel spreadsheet, that kind of thing. So I think that worked for me.
Yeah. You've never really had to do any of the other diets because like we talked about, you were more so in the opposite category, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I do try to eat pretty like whole food. Like I don't restrict things. Like I eat potato chips and chocolate milkshakes, but in small amounts. So
I think that
I would never do like Whole 30.
You are a great example of kind of where I kind of put myself in this category, but more so the registered dietitians and the people that are actually being honest with themselves about what is going wrong with this country in terms of metabolic disorder. You exemplify kind of where we want the diet to be. And that's 80% whole food, not highly palatable carbs, protein sources, good fats. 20%,
chips.
Jesus, take the wheel. Do whatever,
Yeah.
I think if we could get 90% of the country to that level, we would not be experiencing the same type of metabolic issues that we're experiencing right now.
Yeah.
I really do.
I think I'm very lucky that I don't often crave like fast food.
You have been set up very well genetically, yes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you also have a very solid understanding of your health.
Yeah.
And what it takes to live the life that you want to live.
Health is very important to me.
Yeah. So I don't think that you should don't take anything away from yourself because your metabolism is good.
Yeah.
You also work in a way that works for your metabolism.
Yeah,
and you try and cover your nutritional basis.
Yeah. Well, and I will say I do really have a strong desire to eat a lot of carbs. I love bread. I love pasta. I love potatoes. I don't love protein. I don't really like to eat a lot of meat. I don't
but you do
dairy.
Make sure that you include those.
Right. Or like if I really don't want to eat meat for lunch for the week, I'll eat beans or lentils or just something.
Right.
Because I know that it's important.
Exactly. That's the thing. You know that it's important.
And I'll choose something that I like or something that is like, oh yeah, I'd like to have, I don't know, like last week for lunch, I'm like, I haven't had sausage in a while and I really like it and you don't really like it. So like, what can I make for lunch that has that as the protein source? And I also had a bunch of pasta in the fridge. So I just made pasta with sausage and it was good.
I just think that the lack of either wanting to think about your metabolic health or maybe it's lack of education or it's because there's so many different voices in the nutrition space. I think that's a big one.
Yeah.
People are just like, I'm done trying to figure it out because there's so much zealotry and there's so many different cults with diet. It's like, you can look on TikTok or Instagram Reels and you can see one reel that says never eat sugar again. And the next reel says sugar's pretty good for you.
And then you see somebody else who only eats fruit and like, this is nuts.
So
there's so much conflicting advice out there and not the same diet's going to work for everybody.
That's the key. It's very individual.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it's important to put the diets in these different categories. Think about how you as an individual work in your day-to-day life. Are you someone that works really well with numbers and structure? Are you someone that works really well with hard and fast rules? Are you someone that works well kind of with, different phases for things? And you got to do a little bit of experimentation. But that, like, if you take that one step and don't even call it a diet, just say that you're experimenting.
Like I'm trying new lifestyle.
Give something a shot. Like if you've been really struggling with weight, and more so than weight, I want to be very clear because there are skinny people that have metabolic disorders and there are very, very large people, overly fat people that do not have metabolic disorders. So it is not always a one-to-one correlation, but it is most of the time a correlation. So I just want to be clear with my language there, but give one of these a try and then try a different category if that doesn't work and then try the third category. obviously within safe,
Yeah.
reasoning, but
Because you do have to do things that are going to work for you in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we've all had that coworker who's always trying a new diet.
yeah,
Or
it was me.
I had a coworker who would decide, okay, yep, I'm on a diet again this week. Didn't work last week, but I'm starting fresh.
Yeah.
And would bring like a side salad for lunch.
Yes.
And she was so hungry, she would go buy lunch in the cafeteria
Yeah.
and it would be fried chicken.
Yeah.
And so now you've eaten 2 lunch, and like that's fine, but you've got to do something that is going to actually work. That's actually going to satiate you. That's
Yeah.
going to give you the food that you need to fuel your body.
That's the thing, and
You
I think
can't just eat only spinach, like
I
a
just
handful
think
of spinach for 3 meals a day. You just cannot do
that's
that.
the easier path, though, and people don't want to put. And I don't blame them for this. They've got a lot of stuff going on. You don't want to spend more mental energy planning out meals or prepping or. You don't have the money to pay for a meal plan service. Like, I get it. I'm very empathetic to that. But do you want to live on this earth for 60 years or do you want to try and make it to 100? Mm-hmm. Do you want to do everything you can in your power to ensure that your health span is longer?
Right.
Or do you not?
And there is always going to be things about our health that are outside of our control.
100%.
But there are a lot of things that are within our control that we can do to set ourselves up for success with our health in the long term.
I think
and why
about
not
it.
do those things?
This is really twisted, but I think about it as like a death lottery. So you got the big ball,
That's terrible.
the big ping pong ball, and
yeah.
genetics go in there. You can't control that. Environmental factors, a lot of times you can't control. So those are already spinning around.
Yeah.
Do you want to then throw a couple more balls in on top with type 2 diabetes, and coronary heart disease? Do you want to do that and continue to spin the thing around? Because those balls are coming out. Do you want to have 10 coming out that say your time's up, or do you want to have 3 that maybe you can deal with? I don't know. I didn't think about this type of stuff when I was younger.
No.
But I think as we age, your mortality becomes more in front of you. And so you start to kind of have to make these choices.
Yeah. You
And I
start to
want
get
people-
back pain and then you realize you should eat more vegetables.
Dude, I want people to have a long and fulfilling life. That's the reason that I do this. At the end of the day, I could give a crap what you look like. I truly do not care. What I care about is whether or not you can do the activities that fulfill you, that you can be around for the people that need you, and whether or not you are enjoying your life. Those are the things I care about.
Yeah.
How do we get you there? How do we get you there?
Yeah.